and be professionally, financially successful to provide for my family. And then I don't have time to spend with my kids. So basically, I work out this schedule where I'm looking at balance, and I made a conscious decision, and then I'll do a 30-hour, and then I always, my wife and I, of course, my wife, being the mom, it's a lot easier to get engaged with the children, and she's feeding the children. Fathers now, if you really have to make more conscious effort, you can easily get distracted to really, really invest, to be there as parents for our children. And my wife and I, we really put a huge amount of time and energy because we understood the obvious idea of neglecting your children is there. You're gonna pay for it later on. It's one of the best investments. So we really made a conscious decision. You put a huge amount of time and energy into our children, and our children turned out fantastic. And we reap the rewards of this today from that. And then after that, we put in time on children. Even I go to the gym. I'm in the gym 5 times a week. And now I have to go to the gym at 9 o'clock at nighttime. Because you're busy during the day, right? But I need to take care of myself, not only physical fitness, but mentally and emotionally, because if you're exhausted and you're stressed, right? So I'll go to the gym at 9 o'clock. Now I only do a 20-minute session workout, and then I'll be 30 minutes in sauna jacuzzi relaxing. So don't think I'm out there kind of Yeah. But you know what? If you're doing that 4 or 5 times a week, that's all you need, right? But you have to put, and then I get home, and then I'll watch a Netflix or something. And I might go to bed at 1 o'clock. Right. And then in between, if I have a little power nap between, so I don't have to, because you got to get up early and go to bed at night. So obviously a little in between, but it's quite intense to actually live a holistic lifestyle. I personally find I need a structure. I need discipline. I don't feel like going to the gym every night, but because I do a 20-minute session and I'm just chilling out in the jacuzzi, it's doable. Right. And what I do, no, I do. I get pumped up and I do everything. And you know what I mean? But still. Right? And it's really hard to get that discipline and focus. But I'm telling you, you really need to look at your life and ask yourself, okay? And then in between, I'll listen to a podcast. I'll take a walk, I'll listen to a podcast, read a book, audible books. I don't have time to read books. Probably most of you don't. I use podcasts, I use audibles, because intellectually, you also, if you're a mom and you're sitting down, you're dealing with the kid all the time, you're talking baby language to the baby all the time, you need to develop your intellect, right? You need to be reading something, you need to be social, you need to have some friends to interact with. Everything. It's really, really hard. I got it. But I'm telling you, get disciplined, get structured, and ask yourself, okay, all of the basics. I break out my whole life in that situation of work, provide for my family, emotional, social. The weekend is my wife and I. If you come in a Friday night or a Saturday night, my wife and I, religiously, if you wanted to assassinate us, you'd have a pretty good, easy day. Just living room, sitting down on the couch, Saturday night, right? Watching a movie. And, date night. And then weekend, we do stuff in the morning and we run around, and Doris might go swimming in this freezing cold water. Of course, I don't go with her because that's just insane. And I have common sense. And I'm feeling sorry for all those poor suckers she drags along with her. And they always say to me, "Are you coming?" I said, "Of course I'm not coming. What do you think? I'm an idiot? It's freezing water. Even in July, the water's freezing." And then after that, we have this time slot, and it doesn't matter what we do. We may go shopping together and pick something up. We'll do a coffee, we take a walk. You understand me? And it's all structured, it's all disciplined. So at the end of the week, holistically, right, you're investing in your children. You're investing in your professional career, your studies, right? You're investing in your relationships and some friendships, and you're intellectually, you're studying, you're reading, you're keeping up, and you're expanding your mind, right? And I guarantee you're going to feel better. Remember, sometimes remember, Jane, sometimes in between we might be unemployed, right? And then you have all this time in the day, and you're thinking in your mind, "Oh, you must have a great life." It's actually, if you're not fulfilled,
you appreciate it.
No. And you can feel emptiness at the end of the day sometimes. Totally emptiness, if you're not being productive. So I would really encourage everybody to look at your schedule, decide on your priorities, And really, I know it's hard. I know it's hard. And just be really structured and disciplined. And make sure you have everything in your life expanding it. Even if you don't have time, you can double stack. So I could listen to an audiobook as I'm driving to the gym. It's 20 minutes to drive to the gym. So I listen to an audiobook in the car. 2, I drive to the gym, hop out, do my thing in the gym, hop back in the car, and I listen to the same audiobook on the way back. That's 40 minutes, right? So even you can double stack things and super busy and do 2 or 3 things at the same time, right? And work it out. And basically, I really feel a sense of I'm not missing out on life. You know what they say, when you die, you don't want to have regrets. Oh, I wish I spent more time with the kids. I wish I did this. I wish it did. Try not to have regrets, right? Now, I know in the real world, it's hard and you have to and you're not always going to get it. It's especially hard it's probably harder for mothers with children. You know, fathers, it's a little more structured because they go to work and they're not, you know what I mean? But one way or another, it's difficult. There's different things, but try to get structure in your life. I mean, Doris is she's just this productivity queen. Now she's she's not human, basically. What she does, don't try to duplicate what she does. I mean, you can't keep up. I don't know how she like her energy levels and her output is just mind-boggling. Like my productivity is half of what she would get up in the morning. She'd go to bed, collapses at 10:30. At the moment, she's in a sabbatical, but before that, she'd be working full-time in a very stressful job. She's a full-time mom doing everything going on with the kids and everything. And she would be involved in FFWP and organizing major projects and everything else. Now that's kind of really, that's just, it's just an exhaust. I don't know how she does it. I personally wouldn't, I'd definitely be looking for cheat sheets on this. But depending on who you are and your personality, live a holistic life on a day-to-day, week-to-day basis. Look at your calendars and really, you're going to find much more equilibrium and productivity and fulfillment in your life. Very, very important, right? You're wrapped up in studying at the moment. If you neglect this beautiful lady, your wife, then you know what I mean? It's not going to work out and you will pay for it later on. She'll make sure of that. Okay, so the second thing is this concept of living for the sake of others and this higher purpose, right? Okay, so that's a beautiful ideal. I believe in that ideal, but in the practicality, it's quite challenging because we live in a fallen world. Okay, we live in a fallen world. That's just the reality. Everywhere else is a fallen world. And when you get into this, sometimes you've got 2 different camps. Sometimes you feel the sense of in movement, living for the sake of others. So you can be compelled by a sense of guilt. Oh, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And some cultures, or you can experience that, right? That is extremely unhealthy. Okay, you should not be doing something. If you're on a guilt trip on it, now I know sometimes you can feel guilty and sometimes you do it on occasions, that's fine. But fundamentally, you should not be doing something out of guilt. It's extremely bad for your own spiritual life. And it's not, even to be honest, even the offering of sacrificing for the sake of others on a guilt trip, it's how much value is that in an offering? I don't want to say it's 0 because, it is sacrifice, but it's not, it's just not ideal. And then if you're in the movement and there's obligations and pressures and you feel this sense of pressure, this is extremely unhealthy. Okay. And the fact of the matter is you should out and out reject that. Okay. It's just not good for you. The other thing is, the other extreme is maybe you're so into, you could be a mom, totally taking care of your children. You could be completely involved in the community things. And then the other problem with this living for the sake of others is you end up neglecting yourself, right? Neglecting yourself is just, you'll pay for it in the end, right? So the whole ideal, these are the pitfalls. So you can say, live for the sake of others. I buy into that idea, but we do live in a fallen world. Don't get into these guilt trips. Don't get into neglecting yourself. Now, you could go the other extreme where you're not neglecting yourself. You're a total narcissist and you're only interested in yourself. And then you're neglecting others, right? Well, that's going to come back and bite you as well, because that's going to be a problem. So it's really quite It's a very, very highly sensitive area. So how do you apply? Well, how do I try to apply these core principles in my daily life and avoid these pitfalls? Okay, so this is what I do. And like I say, you can maybe something else you could think, oh, that's interesting. You could figure it out in your own way how you can apply it. But I just want to maybe as a testimony of this is how I try to reconcile this issue. Because I do believe in the spiritual fortune of living for a higher purpose. But in reality, I don't wish to neglect my wife, my children, or myself. And I want to do it, and I don't want to do it out of guilt. So how do you do it? How do you do this? So let me give you an idea. First of all, I want to get away from the idea of living for the sake of others is doing some kind of church mission. You can do a church mission. It's really important to do a church mission, and it's a great way, but that's not the only way, right? I'll use an example of maybe Ellie and James, right? Now, there's not a huge amount of community there, but Ellie is a school teacher. Okay, James is in the police and doing kind of dealing with all kinds of. He's a detective, right? And yet you're dealing with murders and everything else. The fact of the matter is, you could go to work, right? You could be a nurse. So I want you to don't think it just in being involved and engaged with church work is valuable. It's hugely important, and that's great. But if there's lots of ways of living for the sake of others and serving a higher purpose, you could be a nurse, you could be a teacher, you could be a detective, dealing with murders, etc. Right? It could be in your job. You could actually be getting paid whilst at the same time adding value of living. The fact of the matter is, living for the sake of others is practiced every single day. You wake up in the morning, right? You love your wife. You love your husband, you love your children, that's living for the sake of others, right? Providing for your family is living for the sake of others. You go to work and you engage with your work environment. That's living for the sake of others, right? And having a proper attitude and engagement. You get involved in and you're engaged in church activity. You're engaged in the community. You're organizing workshops. That is living for the sake of others. Anything that is you do with the right heart. You could be a bin man taking out the bins, and you could make that an offering. You could say, I'm going to basically go to work and I'm going to take out the bins, and this is symbolic of taking out the trash and bin. You could do anything. So you need to think beyond the concept of just some narrow defined idea of living for the sake of others, doing some church stuff. Everything and anything you do, right? And it's very, very, so how do you do that in reality, working with the real world? Now, let me give you some real world examples, right? Because that means dealing with people who have fallen in this main society. Like, for example, we moved to our new house there 5 years ago. Okay, so we're moving into a new neighborhood. And that's a community. Okay, and then we're thinking, okay, so this is what we did. The first thing is I have this mindset of ground zero, right? I don't have any expectations. You've got to remember that the world is fallen, but people are fallen. Whether you're in a work environment or whether you're in a community or whether you go to school, it's still a fallen world. Ground zero is I don't have an expectation. If I'm walking in and I have an expectation that people are going to be nice to me, people are going to love me, and people are going to respect me, now that may be the case. They may, but I have a mindset. So we move into our new neighborhood. Ground zero. I don't expect to see or meet any friendly people or nice people or whatever. Park the car up. We go around. If we see one or two neighbors, we walk over to them, right? Hi, how are you? My name is Alan, right? We're not waiting around for them to be friendly to us. We take initiative, right? We introduce ourselves to the neighbors. We talk to the neighbors. We engage with the neighbors. We made a conscious effort to make sure we know all the names, so then you're coming out in the morning, hi, Fred. Hi, Paul. Hi, Tina. You get to know them all. And we're out there interacting, taking initiative. Now, if you meet somebody that are completely obnoxious and they're just not really nice, that's fine. Memo to self. Ignore that freaking guy. Listen, we're not talking sainthood here. I'm a pragmatist, right? No. Okay, let's sit over here and not good for my health. And then you connecting. And then what we did was actually, when we moved in, we invited everybody to a housewarming party, all the neighbors. And it's the first time they all met each other, right? So everybody knew us and we're super friendly and we're engaging and we're getting to know. So the next day when we come, we walk out, we see them and we say, hi, Paul, hi, Tina, hi, Fred, right? And you're always reciprocating with them, always engaging. They all came to the house. We had this great interaction with them and we proactively. So I'm a great believer. First of all, ground zero, don't have an expectation. You may have nice people, you may not. It doesn't make any difference. You take the initiative, you do that, and then you will find that they're much more responsive. If you're passive and you're coming in, I'm going to see if they're going to be nice to me or not. You know, they may be the same way, and then you end up not creating that atmosphere, right? The second thing is set boundaries. You have to set boundaries. When you're dealing with living for the sake of others and engaged in a community, okay? Listen, we live in a fallen world. People can exploit you. Oh, she's a very compliant person, right? If you want to move something, if you want, like sometimes we want to know the question of something or wonder what's going on, ask Eli, right? Poor old Eli is the go-to, right? That's just the way it is, isn't it? I always talk to my kids about smart giving. You know, if you want to move something, call Daniel, because you know they're the usual suspects, right? And the chances are they'll give a positive response. There could be someone else you could call, but you know, you don't know. You could call James, he could be very cranky that day, or he could be very nice. You just don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know if James is in a good mood today. Better call Eli. You understand me? So the second rule is set your boundaries. You live in a fallen world, okay? And people are going to be there. And if you're there living for the sake of others, adding value to the community, you can be a sucker and people can say, oh, there's one of those lovely, nice, good neighbors. Good, I can take advantage of them. Don't let people take advantage of you, right? You set your boundaries. Don't say yes to everything all the time. And if you feel that you're being exploited by someone, right, just say no. There are a lot of unificationists actually became really, really resentful members, especially the first gen, right? Became very, very resentful because they felt that they were exploited and used and all of this kind of stuff, right? Personally, I have, little or no resentment towards the church. Little or no resentment. Why? Because I'm a saint? No, because I was never exploited. Now you might ask yourself, well, why was I never exploited? James, why do you think I was never exploited? Because I never let anyone, exactly. You couldn't make it like, if I felt I was being taken advantage of, no, I wouldn't turn around and say, you know, go to hell, or, you know, you politely, most of them, not all of them, sometimes it isn't, but you know what, it's very, very important. It's really true. That's great to say, live for the sake of others and sacrifice for your sake of community, but there's going to be people taking advantage of you. So you have to set your boundaries. Otherwise, you're going to end up being resentful, right? And then worst case scenario, you end up being resentful and then you give up and you say, I gotta quit this involvement, engagement with the community and everything else. And I'm just being burnt out and I'm exhausted. That's really, really unfortunate for you, because then you're not getting the benefits of engagement with living for the sake of others, because there's huge benefits to that as well. Set your boundaries, begin with ground zero. Here's another example, right? I worked for Flow Gas, I was national sales manager, I was this super big shot guy, and you know, big shot Alan, blah, 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 and everything was fantastic. And everybody, that's true. And everybody loved me, right? And then I worked for this other company, and it was down in Carlo, and I wanted to get into solar energy because of the whole new energy and an opportunity. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to get into solar. And I came in as just a regular sales guy, which I enjoy too, you know. Manager, it sounds great to be a national sales manager, but quite frankly, national sales manager, you're managing a lot of people. And people are idiots, and it's a pain in the butt. Trust me. When you're just by yourself, you just got yourself. I have a much better relationship with myself, right? Than having now, especially salespeople. They're really some of the most totally, you know, like personality. You got all kinds of, some of them are lovely and some of them are different personalities. And it's just, it can be stressful, right? So it's a lot. So I didn't mind. Okay, I don't care. Is it all I care about is how much money I make. I don't care about big titles. You know what I mean? I don't, the titles mean responsibility and more work. And I can't stick to my 30-hour work, so that doesn't suit me either. But anyway, so I work for this company down in Carlo. Okay, I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody. Nobody has any interest in me. Nobody could care less about me. I'm a nobody. My ego is not being managed. Okay, so what do? The hell with these deadbeats. They know who I am. No, I start off with ground zero, right? No expectation. I don't go in there. No, I go in there at ground zero. Zero expectations for anybody. It's fine. And I just focus, I do my job. And, I just focus on my sales and I talk to people in the office who I'm supposed to deal with. And you just begin from a servant position because my value system is serving others, living for the sake of others and adding value, right? That's what you do. You get paid a lot of money because you're adding value. When you add value, then you're valuable and people want to pay you a lot. That's basically it. Father once said in a speech, if you were the most selfish person in the world, right? They said you would practice the principle of living for the sake of others. Because the greater value you have, even like in the real world of a profession. So I keep my head down, no ego, this practice of this concept of, just don't have expectations, take initiative, serve, give, right? And if you're dealing with some toxic guy, just ignore him and don't deal with him, just talk to this person and work out a positive relationship. Now, over time, people get to know you. Wow, he's really good. He's got, he's got a great sale, he does all the paperwork correctly, he has the proper reports, he has the proper everything. And then over time, you can begin to elevate, engage in society, you set your boundaries, right? Companies are going to exploit you if they can. You set your boundaries, you basically live for the sake of others, you add value, don't have a big ego, and that's that's my go-to strategy, right? In trying to engage in any kind of group. And it's a very effective strategy. It's very effective because in life, it's up and down with all kinds of different situations. And you can walk into a complete different group, maybe nobody knows, so you don't know. And that's what I do. And I find that way you don't get burnt out. So just to conclude, right? Why would you want to live for the sake of others? Why would you want to do it? Well, the first one is obvious. You gain great vitality elements. When you're living for something dear to yourself and you're helping people out, and Rose comes here and she cooks for everybody downstairs. And we all love Rose. And of course we don't just love Rose because she's cooking. But no, it's of course it is. Of course it is. Because it's adding value. People add value, they engage in the community, and you can really love them and you respect them. So why would you want to live for the sake of others? You live for the sake of others because you gain a great sense of vitality element. You become an engaged member of society, and it's a great way of serving others is a great way of feeling a sense of appreciation and value, and people get to know you, people love you and appreciate you, right? There's another thing that's very, very important that I really zoom in on myself. The other reason is because it's my value system, right? I can go even in work, right? I'm still going to live for the sake of others because it's my value system, even if they're completely not a great environment. I still do that because it's my value system, right? And here's the most important thing. Here's an interesting one that really fascinates me, right? Is this idea of spiritual fortune. The Unification Church talks about this as indemnity and kind of living for the sake of others. I'm a great believer in that. When you ever have problems in life, when you're looking for a job or you're looking for a house or you're looking in the real world, you're looking for a matching prospect, you pray, right? And whatever it is in life, or you have a health crisis or something like that, you want to pray to God and you seek for spiritual fortune, right? And the question is, why should God care about you? And you say, well, I'm a child of God, and God loves me unconditionally. That's true. That's true. But you know what? Not only when we pray, we talk to God, but we also talk to, I believe, we talk to the high spirit, right? And many times I've had difficulties and challenges and different struggles in the real world scenarios. And I'm seeking for advice and guidance. And I will pray. I can pray to God, or I can talk to the spirit world and ask her. Like sales, that's how I work 30 hours and do really, really well. But all these different people, and say, who do you think I should talk to? Many times I'm just talking to a very, very small group of people, and I get a high bunch of sales from them because I feel spiritually guided, right? And I've done really, really well. And I've been using this spiritual, and I don't talk, pray to God about it, except God's got things to do, he's kind of busy, he doesn't worry about my target. But I talk to spirit, guys, come on, I gotta have it go. I need this, I need that, I'm trying to sell my car, I need to get this, that, the other, these kinds of things. Why does the spirit world want to help anything? Right? Well, if you want to connect to the high spirit world, you're going to connect to whatever vibration level you're at. Okay? If you're a complete evil, low-level person and you're talking, I appreciate the fact that God loves everybody. But the truth of the matter is, your spiritual energy will reciprocate with wherever you're at. And if you want to connect to the really higher spirit world, you've got to elevate it. And the one thing, there's two core principles that you apply. One is sexual purity and integrity, right? And that's a core principle in all religions. And the other thing is living for the Christ. Because see, if you had a brilliant business idea, you'd probably give it to Elon Musk or Bill Gates, because these people are living, they're thinking. I have a theory on Elon Musk. What he's done in terms of the electrical car revolution is miraculous. And his motivation, whatever you think of the guy, his motivation, he already became a millionaire through PayPal. He got into electric cars because he actually cared about the environment and figured this is for humanity's sake. And I believe it was incredible spiritual fortune. He attracts some of the smartest people in the world. I believe he is incredible spiritual. Now, he's not perfect, he's got fallen nature. His social life is a complete disaster. He's married to all kinds of women, so do not get any marriage advice from the guy, right? That's a complete disaster. You can see how X is very toxic and all over the place. So, he's not perfect. But I believe he has amazing spiritual fortune because what he's doing is for a greater purpose, right? And everything you do, like even for us, when we want to buy a house, and we're looking for a house, okay? We want to get a house, not just for our own family, but we want to come to some higher purpose so we can have a house, we can invite people, we can engage people, people come to barbecues, we can make it open for the community. Spiritually, always look to take everything up to the next level, right? Now, listen, I am not a saint. I'm not even close to a saint, but I do understand that those core principles, and practically speaking, in reality of trying to take everything, even if you work out and you eat healthy food, that's for your body is healthy, so you can love your wife and love your children, right? And then you can serve your family, you can serve your higher purpose. And when I pray, I always try to connect with what it is that I'm trying to do to the whole purpose. And that way I feel, and many times I've had these personal experiences of spiritual fortune, of God's intervention, high spiritual, and the key element is thinking on a higher level, because then you're reciprocating with higher spirits who are smarter, wiser, more intuitive, and have more spiritual leverage. It's very, very hard, to be honest, to connect to the high spirit, right? It is, it's not easy. But one way of doing it is always go to the higher purpose. Even if I want to do an individual thing, simple thing like buy a car, right? Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, I ask myself, in what way acquiring that enables me to live for the sake of the whole on a higher purpose? Yeah. And I take that. I know it sounds crazy for some people, but our family, we've been very, very fortunate, right? And there's a spiritual fortune in that, right? Now, these Buddhists, and they get these Buddhists and they chant for this, that, and the other. And they're only on an individual level, and they just want things for themselves, and they're not connecting it. They're only reciprocating with very, very, they have limited abilities. I mean, we all read these books on The Secret of this, that, and the other. And it's partially correct and partially rubbish, because it doesn't understand the concept of living for the sake of purpose. And the highest spirit world, and the more you can elevate higher in thinking for the sake of others, right? You can be a fallen person. I'm a fallen person. But if my mindset elevates to that height, I bring in an intervention of the higher spirit world, and there's greater spiritual fortune in it. And that's why you should always seek to, despite when you have, especially when you have started having children, for the second generation, when you have children, it gets problems. You end up just focusing on family. It's hard to go beyond that. Okay? I'm not saying it as a judgment. What I'm saying to you is, don't miss out on the spiritual fortune. You could even just do your job, and it can be a little time, because we're busy with everything else. Find ways of doing something that connects to the higher purpose, and bring that higher purpose in as you wish to receive God's blessing. If you think about it, the universe cares about the universe, right? And if you're thinking about the universe, which means whole purpose beyond your own family, isn't it only natural that the universe would want to give the blessing to you? Because seriously, I really feel it's completely, the universe cares about the universe. And if I'm thinking about a bigger level, now it could be just on a very simple level within the community. I'm not thinking of the whole world. It could be simple, right? But whatever blessing I want on an individual family level, connected to, in a simple way, to some kind of larger level. And it's been my personal experience, and how you tap into, and the vibration with everything. We do it, with our children. We play for matchings and blessings for our children, and we're constantly, you look for a house, you look for a job, you're trying to get into a course and pass a course, and do you move here? All the reality of the real stuff that every one of us deal with, right? Connected to the whole purpose, pray, bring that spiritual fortune in some small way, right? You don't have to change your daily activity. You could be a bin man taking out bins. You're working. You're not there joining some peace brigade and going off to Africa. And you just mentally and emotionally say, I'm doing this as an offering for the sake of whatever, even if you're doing your daily job or routine. You can connect them. You go to school, you get an education. You can say, this education enables me, it gives me the qualifications so I can have a position of social status in mainstream society, and I can use that as a way of reaching out to the world. Right? How you do that or what you do, you don't know. But you can always connect that. So I'm a great believer. I'm a great cynic of the power of positive thinking, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? I think having a positive mental attitude, having goals and pursuing them in and of itself is good. I think it's a bit of a smokescreen, because here's the core. First of all, you have to believe that you're worthy of it. So if you feel unworthy to be loved, you're not going to find love. You're rejecting it by not believing it, right? So the core is, first of all, you need to believe that you're worthy of it, self-image. Second thing, you've got to go out there and get it, make it happen. So this doesn't just do stuff in the community and then suddenly everything comes to you. That doesn't work. You have to fulfill your 5% portion responsibility, right? You're just going around living for the sake of the community. You're not going to pass your exams. You have to work. You have to first believe. Let me use Jesus. First of all, you have to believe that you do it. If you have a crisis and mental breakdown and you this is way too hard, I'm not going to do it, then you're in trouble. So first of all, you got to believe, okay, and you take this for any example of anything you're doing in life. First of all, I can do this. I have the ability. Now, you may fail once or twice or fall down. That's fine. But fundamentally, I have the ability. Self-belief is the first thing. Second thing you do, you got to work your ass off, right? There's no this idea, I'm sitting around and I'm connected to God and everything comes to me. I mean, I don't believe in it and I haven't experienced it. You got to work your butt off. You want something, 5% portion, and it's in the principle. It's called 5% portion responsibility. And spiritual fortune. It's definitely, I think there's an element of spiritual fortune. You were in Norway and you had all kinds of situations and you got kicked out of there and you came to Ireland. I mean, you must have been in a pretty dark spot, right? And then suddenly you're in the situation, right? Your spiritual fortune probably changed the day you got matched to bless the Heidi. That's what happened to mine too. But you still got to work your butt off, right? You got to earn it now. You got to earn it. And the other thing is spiritual fortune. These are the key elements. Connect whatever you're doing on an individual, even if it's completely reading a book, listening to a podcast, working out, even if it's on working in a job, right? You, of course, you work in a job, you want to be professionally successful because you want to provide for your family. That's already for the sake of this. But go even higher. Go even higher, right? How can I add value? The one thing that really worries me is, as a family, we feel very, very blessed, okay? And the thing that worries me, you could drive down the street and be run over and end up, things can happen. And this worries me, is the spiritual fortune part. And my driving.
Never read that.
Well, you should get in the car with Dara as well. I don't think one or the other. But that's it, spiritual fortune. Whatever you're doing on an individual level, okay? Yes, God loves everybody, and yes, God wishes to bestow great blessings upon everybody. But you've got to fulfill your thing. So connect whatever you want to do. Everything, the job you want to do, the house you want to get, building your marriage up, the health and well-being of your children. Connect it to a whole purpose in a very simple, practical way, and bring in that spiritual fortune. And you're gonna, and the higher mindset, you're going to be surrounded by higher spiritual beings with more spiritual fortune, and it just keeps on. But then, of course, be warned, the greater blessings and the greater obligation you have to kind of continually make sure it's a circular, you're giving the energy. If you're receiving the energy, you're receiving the blessing, and then you're not passing it on, then you're going to. But remember, we live in a fallen world. Don't be exploited. Don't get on a guilt trip. I'm a real pragmatist, okay? I'm just going to give all my money away. I work my butt off. I got a big bonus. I'm going to give all my money away to some. I'm a great believer in being completely realistic. Come Christmas time with a big bonus, I'll buy myself a big TV. You know what I mean? But seriously, you can be take good care of yourself and your family and provide for your family, but at the same time, you can connect with this higher spiritual level and be grounded in that. I really believe that. You know what I mean? Because you want to be blessed as an individual and the family and everything else. But connect on that higher level. I want you to think about it, spiritual fortune. So when you're engaged with the community, it is a stress because we're all fallen and there's always going to be challenges there. But don't let that deter you to bring in your spiritual fortune. Okay? Thank you very much. Finish with prayer. Dearest Heavenly Father, you want everybody in this community to receive great blessing, great fortune, not just for ourselves, but we can also take this great blessing and fortune and really spread the word, and people can see, man, what are these people doing correctly? Why are they being so blessed? And then this attraction to your truth and your ideal can expand and grow over time. And we really want to pray for your guidance, for your support, to help us really not just read about the ideal, but to find ways, practical ways of bringing your great fortune into our lives, into our families' lives, and into our community lives, and really just blossoming and expanding this out. I'd like to offer this in the Alan McCann said for this family. Thank you.